Hello everyone, good evening. Hope you're all well. You're looking good, feeling good, I'm guessing. And it's good to see you guys again on a lovely Tuesday evening. Now today we're going to carry on with our 7th lesson. We've got 4 more lessons left, including this one, and then we're going into the 3rd semester on how to build ourselves and work together in a group, so it'll be more practical. Now today we're going to start off with a question. Is Michael with us? Is Michael around? I see a Michael on the screen, but I don't see his webcam open. Anyway, Michael had a nice question he sent through, so I want to start the lesson by answering that, and then we're going to carry on lesson 7. Topic is nullification.
Michael just wrote in, yes, I'm here.
Oh, lovely.
All right.
So Michael had this question, and he said, hi there. I have a question pertaining to last night's lesson, which is last Tuesday. It was the 6th lesson of the 2nd semester. At the end of the session, Instructor Mutlu, that's me, was fielding questions, and there was a question concerning the ego. In a nutshell, Mutlu said the ego is good and that the bigger the ego, the better. I found this strange as it seemed to contradict everything I have learned on the course so far. I mean, even in Michael Lightman's book, Attaining the Worlds Beyond, there's a chapter called Eradicating Egoism. Please can someone explain this to me? It definitely seems that ego is a bad thing, and everything I have studied so far in the course would seem to suggest this. Indeed, many times in the book I mentioned above, Michael Lightman would seem to be suggesting the same thing. So why did Mutlu say the ego is good and the bigger one's ego the better? I know the reasons he gave in the lesson last night, but none of it makes sense. I would really appreciate a response. Many thanks, Michael from South Africa. Okay, so I thought I'd answer this live instead of writing an email, because it is an important topic and we should all understand the really elements of the ego. First of all, we have to understand that the development of humanity, all right, all of us, throughout the history of our development, developed by this pushing force called egoism. If we didn't have ego, we wouldn't really have developed. Our entire development, in fact the whole of reality's development, is still vegetative, animate and human. And the still level, with all the planets, the stars, the sun, the earth, that's the still level. Then we have the vegetative level, all the plants, we have the animate level, and then we have the speaking level. Now, speaking level in itself is actually a spiritual level. However, let's just, for the purpose of our humanity's development, let's call the speaking level, just regular, normal people with 2 legs, looking like humans. All right, so this is how we develop. Now, the still level, the vegetative level, and the animate level, when they stopped developing and humans started developing, their egos stopped right there. You see, everything in reality, as we said, is a desire to receive pleasure, right? Desire to receive pleasure. And the human on the planet Earth is the only living creature which has an ego, which has this unsatisfied, wanting more trait inside. That's called egoism, to want more than what I really need. I just want more, I want to have more. I see that somebody else has something, I want more than what they have. And in order to get what I want to do whatever I can. And that's called egoism. Now, egoism, thus henceforth, also developed the whole of humanity. If we take the whole of humanity in these levels as well, because what did we say about the still level of our desires? We said sex, food, and family. Okay, these are our still level of desires. And the vegetative level of desire inside us as humans was money. We want to get rich. And the animate level inside of us is honor and control. Honor and control. And the speaking level inside of us in the human society is knowledge. So throughout history, humanity developed in all these desires through the power of egoism, of not being satisfied with what we have, always seeking a higher level of comfort, a higher level of knowing, being more advanced. And in order to get there, we didn't really care how we got there, we just wanted to get there. So always going beyond our means of living, beyond our necessities of life, is called egoism. And to advance in humanity, we needed egoism. It's good to have egoism. This is why it's good, okay? Because without it, you can't really develop, you can't move forward. If we didn't have the ego, we'd remain like monkeys. Okay? Monkeys would never go from ape to human. We'd just get stuck in that level. Now, as time goes forward, egoism starts to mutate. It's like a fruit going bad on a tree. It starts to smell bad, starts to taste bad, and we begin to see that the side effects of this trait are becoming more apparent. And we're beginning to see the evil inside the egoism. Now, seeing the evil inside the egoism is also it's causing us harm on the one hand, but it's also allowing us to find a way or to start thinking about how we can go beyond our egoism. So egoism, on the one hand, it's causing us harm, but on the other hand, it's a leverage. It's a leverage to attain a higher level of consciousness. In fact, the harm caused by our egoism, the despair of humanity due to egoism, brings us to the question, well, what are we all living for? So on the one hand, it's bad and it's causing us dramas. But on the other hand, it's good if you know how to tackle it. So humanity's problem is, well, what are we going to do with our egoism? It's a problem. If you're stuck in this mode, up until the level of our development, which is pretty much like towards the end of the 20th century, humanity pretty much did all this egoistic development. As you can see, from 21st century onwards, we don't really have, except technological innovation. There's no real innovation in science. Technology is not science. Technology is using what we already know to bring out something new. But real science means that a real discovery about laws of nature. So in fact, since the 80s, 90s, science is also going down. This is why they've gone into all these quantum physics now. Okay, they don't know anything beyond matter. So what they do is speculate about what can be happening beyond matter. And that's not really science, because science is quantitative statistical facts when an experiment is repeated over time. So even science, which is knowledge, which is the last ladder of human development, is really not going anywhere. So when you're stuck at a level and you don't know what to do with yourself, and your egoism is now causing you to rot like that fruit on the tree, then you begin to cause harm to everyone. It's like a person going from a mentally stable position to a mentally unstable position. All of a sudden, they start to do things that are like weird, not normal, not accepted by society. So it's like a person losing mental sanity and becoming crazy. And this is what our society is turning into. So at that level, it's quite horrific. Okay? Egoism is bad because we don't know what to do with it. However, if I do know what to do with my ego, then I could use it. How can I use it? Well, in spirituality, I can use my egoism because I need my egoism actually to rise ever more higher. Now, if anyone comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah with a dot in the heart, and they start to, now we're going into our lesson actually. Okay, so I'm gently taking you guys into the 7th lesson as I'm answering Michael's question. So if a person comes with the question, what's the meaning of my life? And starts now to study the wisdom of Kabbalah, and gets himself into an environment where he can learn from the Rav, from the sources, and from the friends by working together, accumulate experience in that environment, a person can begin to reveal the real ego, inside our nature. Now, the egoism that we have in our corporeal life here in Kabbalah is not really the egoism that Kabbalists are talking about. Yes, it's causing us harm. However, the real ego we're talking about is at a spiritual level, actually inside what we call the shells, the real evil of our desire to receive for ourselves. When a person starts to study Kabbalah, that revelation of the ego becomes apparent inside the group. The reason is this: our ego in this life is just to fulfill our worldly desires, and by doing so, like in this world, right? If I'm fulfilling my sex, food, family, money, honor and control and knowledge, to fulfill these desires, I use my ego. I can harm others, I can be on top of others, I can use others basically to fulfill these desires. But the Kabbalists are saying, well, look, although this is our egoism because we're using each other and we're like abusing each other to get these things, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And as you know, with an iceberg, what's beneath the water is always far greater than what you see on the top of the water. So the Kabbalists are saying this world's egoism is just a sign for us until we come to despair and ask that question, why? Then a person who comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah begins to work, and during the study gets what we call an illumination. Let me just do that in yellow, called the light, which will allow the person to reveal the real ego. Now, revelation of the real ego is a nice thing. Why? Because in the spiritual worlds, I'm going to have to build what's called the attribute of the Creator, which is love, as you know, and bestowal, love plus bestowal. I'm going to have to build it somehow. The Creator is not going to take it out of a hat like a bunny and say, yo, here's your attribute of love and bestowal, well done. No way. I'm going to have to build it, just like we build our lives in this world. So we need to take example from how we live here. In order for us to live here, we have to build our lives with our occupation, our career, our job skills, human skills, social skills. We build a life here. So the Creator is saying, listen, I set this world as an example. So from that, when you get the dot in the heart, you got the environment and you can build your spiritual life. Great. What am I going to need for that? Well, if you want to build love and bestowal, what are you going to need? You're going to need something opposite, because the whole of perception of reality is because of two opposite ends, right? We can't perceive reality if there are no two opposite ends of something. Day, night, sweet, bitter, beautiful, ugly, tasty, disgusting. Everything comes in a variety of opposites. So the Creator is saying, great, I'm love and bestowal, and you guys have no clue about what that is, because you guys are all egoistic and self-centered. All right, great. So we understood that. How did we understand that? We understood that because we studied together and we realized what the real ego is amongst the connection, within the connection between ourselves. Now, when a person reveals how egoistic he is inside this state here, he has the ability to build the opposite, called, you guessed it, love and bestowal. In order for me to build a bigger and bigger and bigger love and bestowal, what am I going to need? A bigger and badder ego. So I'm using the ego as a leverage to build love. However, because I'm revealing it inside a laboratory, this is called our laboratory, this is our lab, I'm revealing it inside my experiences. It doesn't have to be reflected in corporeality, and it doesn't have to cause me or anybody any harm. That's the whole idea of spiritual development. It's an inner process. So all the hatred, the bad traits that I have, everything against everyone is revealed inside of me as part of my self-awareness and recognition inside this laboratory, which is a controlled environment. Which means I don't have to go crazy and mental like the people on the outside, because it can be an inner reflection. All right, are you guys with me so far? Michael, are you with me?
Yeah, actually, Michael wrote in and he said, Mutlu, thanks for addressing my question. Much appreciated.
Okay, no worries. But if there's something not understood, let me know. Now, dig this. In order for me to build love and bestowal, I have to reveal something against it. Just like there is night or darkness, I need to build a torch, or I have to make a candle to compensate so I can see where I'm going. So, what happens in the spiritual worlds when we enter spirituality? This is spirituality. All right. Oops. Okay, spirituality, which is the feeling of the Creator. And the feeling of the Creator means that I actually have love and bestowal as an attribute in me. Okay, so never think about the Creator as like some guy floating on the clouds and looking down on us with some long white hair and white beard and with nice rosy cheeks. The Creator is the attribute of love and bestowal that's clothed in me. However, spirituality and the whole purpose of spiritual study is to build a relationship between us and the Creator directly. But I'm not there yet. We haven't revealed the Creator yet. So I have to first reveal the negatives that are in me and that are reflected in the connection with other people around me. So I can reveal the egoism that exists between people. A lot of people on the street don't realize they're egoists. They don't even know. They don't even think they're egoists. You go to a person on the street and accuse them of being an egoist, or tell them human nature is egoism, they'll tell you, you have no idea what you're talking about. In fact, they'll tell you they love people. All right? This is what their nature is, because they don't see their egoism. So in the group, first, we come to reveal the real ego inside the connection between us. And then we have to overcome that all the time. It's called nullification, which we're going to learn today. However, though, once I attain this attribute of love and bestowal inside my vessel, this spiritual vessel, and I begin to sense the Creator with everything that happens around me, I begin to attain the 5 spiritual senses at the minimum level. Keter, Chochmah, Bina, Tiferet, Malchut. So in my first minimum level, I attain my 5 spiritual senses, and I begin to discover the force that's activating everything in reality. Now dig this. If the Creator is love and bestowal and wants to give me everything, and if I am a desire to receive, what am I going to want to do? Well, I'm going to want to abuse him, won't I? Because I see he has everything and I have a desire to receive, and he wants to give it all as well. Imagine that situation in this world. You have a friend who's a billionaire and he wants to give you everything, and you think, oh my God, what an idiot. Yeah, I'll take that, thank you very much. Because that's our nature. Okay? So when we come into that level of spirituality, we're going to want to get everything that the Creator has. And then we're going to really discover the levels of our egoism against the Creator. And that's called the real ego. Every time, that's called the left line, by the way. The left line. Where I want to receive everything from the Creator in order to make me happy, not to make the Creator happy. Okay? I want to really con him out of everything he's got, plus take his throne and then throw him out of the castle and take all the kingdom for myself and say, hey, sorry, buddy. Okay? It's like this guy conning you out of everything. That's ego. But that's against the Creator. Now imagine that. How am I going to compensate? If I reveal inside of me that I've got all this bad thing and I just want to take the Creator and just rob him out of everything, how am I going to compensate? How am I going to cover that bad trait in me with love and bestowal? So on the one hand, I have to reveal what kind of a bad person I am. On the other hand, I have to reveal the Creator's love towards me. And that's called the right line, which is love and bestowal. So on the one hand, I discovered how evil I am. On the other hand, I discovered the Creator's love towards me, and guess what that made me feel like? Absolutely like crap. Okay, because I'm now left in a dilemma. Okay, I feel bad about it. I feel like, oh my God, how could I be such a bad person? The guy really loves me. He wants to give me everything. I want to rob him out of everything. And in fact, I wouldn't mind if he just disappeared. Okay, now that's called the feeling of shame. It's something that comes from spirituality. Shame. We'll talk about it later on. It's a very important feeling in spirituality. So now I have to think. I've got to think to myself, oh my God, how am I going to compensate my evil against this love that's presented to me? Because I just feel bad about it. Then I have to build the middle line. The middle line is then learning from the Creator how to love just like He is loving. And I raise that attribute of love above the evil that I revealed now, so that that evil never will again be activated. I know it's there, I've discovered it, and now I have the power, the acknowledgement, the awareness that I'm not going to use it, and I'm going to be loving at that level just like the Creator. That we learn from the Creator. That's why real spirituality is learnt in the spiritual worlds from the Creator. Now, dig this. In order for me to love more, what do I need to reveal? I've got to reveal more crap. That's what happens. Because as you go up the ladder, you begin to reveal how much worse you actually are. And you just can't believe how bad you can be. But as you're advancing in spirituality, that's actually a great thing. Because on top of every bad thing, now you have the ability to bestow more and to love more. On top of all the evil, you can actually love much more. It's like getting married in this world. you're married. And we know you're going to have dramas, right? However, if you cover all the problems you have with your spouse with love and understanding after you've had the fight, over the gradual years that go by, what happens? You build love, actually. Okay, because initially when we meet our partners, we're not in love with them. You know, it's like two dogs sniffing around. They say, oh my God, the chemistry here is good. Let's get married. Okay, but that's not love. That's called chemistry. Okay, that's sniffing around is what we're doing. All right. However, if it's there and then you understand, all right, if you're two conscious adults, you understand that you're a man, you know, and she's a woman, and your natures are different, and you're going to have conflicts, and that's fine. So if you overcome all your conflicts, all of life's dramas, problems together, you begin to build love, despite the fact that you hated each other's guts last night when you had a fight. That's how you build love. So if you don't have the negatives, you've got nothing to build love with. If everything is going honky-dory and you never have an argument, you never have a bad day, and everything is just smooth, it's just good chemistry, but it's not really love. Love is going beyond all the problems that you have and sticking it out. So ego, the bigger, the greater you become in bestowal. That's why against the Creator's infinite love, we need to discover this infinite ego. Otherwise, our vessel will be very shallow. Our love, our connection in this life, without any dramas with our spouse, will be very shallow. Just be very shallow love. You know, it's like two kittens in front of the fireplace, and that's about it. All right, Mike, now that we've come through and now entered ourselves into the lesson, hope that answered your question. Let's get into this state where we, with the dot in the heart, want to enter an environment to develop ourselves spiritually. This is called the environment. And this is where I've got the Rav, the books, and the friends. And I stick my head in there. What does it mean to stick my head in there? I'm sticking my dot in the heart in there. I'm not sticking anything else. My dot in the heart is there. But my body, my human egoism, let's say, remains outside. It's like going into a saloon in the Wild West, right? You tie the mule on the outside and you walk into the saloon. So we're leaving the donkey on the outside and we're entering that human part in us, that dot in the heart, into the environment called the spiritual environment. Okay, let's call it the spiritual environment. Because here we want to get, what do we want to get, Anthony? What was that song you were singing?
Spiritual.
Let's get spiritual. That's it. That song. Let's get spiritual. Because here you get physical, and in the group you want to get spiritual. Okay, that's what we want to do. So that's called the Rav, the books, and the friends. Now, once I enter in there, how am I going to get spiritual? Well, let's read a little bit. The topic is called nullification. When a person's heart awakens, we need to find a way, just like in the corporeal life, how we go and educate ourselves to become, I don't know, a craftsman or attain a profession in life. We go and learn. We need to also start learning in a spiritual environment what spirituality means. So first of all, we're going to read from where we're going to read from the social writings, the purpose of society, number 2. And it's not a long one, so let's read and work and take this article as a basis for building how to nullify ourselves in spirituality in order to develop that dot in the heart. All right. Now, if you guys have the book, great. It's this one, Rabbi's Social Writings. Purpose of Society, number 2. Is Michael a happy man?
I believe Michael's happy. And we just got, these are other questions that are pouring in.
All right, Michael, if you got any dramas, let me know, mate. But hopefully we've covered it. Purpose of Society, number 2, article number 1, part 2, 1984, Rabbi's Social Writings. Since man is created with a kli called self-love, where one does not see that an act will yield self-benefit, one has no motivation to make even the slightest motion. And with that annulling self-love, it is impossible to achieve adhesion with the Creator, meaning equivalence of form. All right, so let's read that sentence again. And with that annulling self-love. So we're created with self-love, and with that annulling self-love, it is impossible to achieve adhesion with the Creator, meaning equivalence of form. That means we can never get spiritual if we do not annul our self-love. And since it is against our nature, we need a society that will form a great force so we can work together on annulling the will to receive called evil, as it hinders the achievement of the goal for which man was created. For this reason, society must consist of individuals who unanimously agree that they must achieve it. So there we go. The first thing, when we're all together, is we unanimously agree. Unanimously. So everybody, there we go. Where are we? So everyone agrees. Everyone agrees to annul self-love. Okay, we must come to that agreement. We must understand why we're together. Right? A group of people who study together, who want to attain something together, must know why they're together. That's the first rule. Second rule is, in order to attain what they're there together for, what to do. And the third thing is, how to do. So he's going to explain it, as he is doing now. And since it is against our nature, we need a society that will form a great force so we can work together on annulling the will to receive called evil, as it hinders the achievement of the goal for which man was created. For this reason, society must consist of individuals who unanimously agree that they must achieve it. Then all the individuals become one great force that can fight against itself, since everyone is integrated in everyone else. Thus each person is founded on a great desire to achieve the goal. So if there's a group of people, if there are a group of people together, then if I'm weak, I can get strength from them. And Rabash is saying, well, we're all weak. In this business, all of us are weak because our nature is a desire to receive self-pleasure. So we can't go against our nature on our own. So what we have to do is come together so we can find strength from the unity in the group. To be integrated in one another, each person should annul himself before the others. So we need to know what annulment is. That's a question mark. This is done by each seeing the friend's merits and not their faults. There you go. First action he gives us. In order for me to annul myself, practically, he's saying, very simply, each of us have to see the good side of the friends, and we must not see their faults. Okay? If you got the book, underline it. If you have a notebook, write it down. Because a practical advice, I must only see the good side of the friends and not their bad sides. But one who thinks that he's a little higher than his friends can no longer unite with them. So if any of us have a higher opinion of themselves, well, unfortunately, we can't unite. Just like in a family. Okay, if I think I'm higher than my spouse, then I should ask myself a question: what am I doing with this person? Same here. You can't connect with that person. Also, it's important to remain serious during the assembly. Okay, we can skip that. We'll come to that later. Let's see what else is talking to us about. So, hence it is good that there will be equality among the friends who unite, so one can be annulled before the other. And they should be careful, watch in the society, disallowing frivolity, since frivolity ruins everything. So we all need to understand that inside the group, in order to connect, what must we be? We must all be equal. So friends must be equal in order to connect. Just like in a family, between spouses. They have to be equal in order to connect. And all of us, the second advice we need to take from here, that we all should see the good side of our friends and not their bad side. Because we're egoists, if I see the slightest bad thing in a friend, I'm just going to blow that out of proportion. Because the ego loves that. Okay? If I know somebody's lower than me, great, bring them even more down. Because our nature is like that. It's not our fault. It's not because, that's how we want to be. This is just our nature. And we have to accept things like scientists here. As we develop, as we move forward, and we reveal what our true nature really is, we're going to begin to see that seeing bad things about people actually makes us happy. It's like, I'm better. Okay? So that's already a person, making him or herself greater than somebody else. Our ego likes that. So in the group, we must always look at the friends and see the good side of the friends, because we're going to develop with them, we're going to grow with them. So we want to make sure that the connection between us should be tight. In order for us to connect correctly, we need to see the good side of the friends.
Now, you have a question in regards to what you just said, and it comes from Michael.
Okay.
Michael says, "Thanks, Mutlu. I'm a happy man, but I got to still ask.
Yeah, go on.
Is annulling self-love the same as eradicating the ego?"
Eradicating the ego is a wrong word. We don't want to eradicate it. We want to take it under our control. The word eradicating the ego is used because of ancient Kabbalistic books where they talk about killing and then the revival of the dead and so on in biblical stories. But what we don't want we can't eradicate the ego, first of all. We can't. What we can do is we can understand it and then use the other force in nature, which is bestowal and love, to control it. That's what eradicating really is. We can't, get rid of anything that's already in creation. What we can do is we can change the way we relate to it and take control of it. They use the word eradicate, but it's the wrong word to use. Well, what we want to do is we want to take ego under the control of love and bestowal, so that the ego doesn't control us, but love and bestowal controls us. Because if you eradicate ego, then you eradicate the discernments that you have between two opposites. It's like deleting the whole of reality, really. So you want to make sure that all the negative things in reality exist, but because now you're covering it with something positive, you have a full spectrum of reality. So you can't eradicate or kill the ego. They just say it that way in order to give you, in order to let you know that what you need to do is stop using it. This is what nullification is. You stop using your ego. You just put it aside. This is exactly why I said here a minute ago that what we need to do is we need to leave that donkey, the egoism, this animal donkey, outside of the group. Okay, this is like, let's say, this is the animal in us. Okay, the egoistic animal. You leave it outside and you put your dot in the heart, that inclination. Okay, what is the dot in the heart? The inclination to the Creator. Inclination for the Creator. Okay, for His attributes. And because we want to develop that, all of us want to develop that, all of us bring the dots in the heart into the group. We want to bring that inclination in because that's what we want to develop. So if I bring the negativity inside the group and start looking at everyone like, other societies out there in the world saying, oh, well, he can't manage that and she can't do that. And, well, she's like this and he's like that. We won't get anywhere. This is why he's saying, listen, start by seeing the friends for what they're good at. And just forget about their bad sides for the moment. If you see something bad about them, just say, you know what? God created them this way. It's not their fault. I don't want to see it. I want to see their good sides.
Before seeing the good side, what did you say? Claire says, I missed what the first thing we have to do in the group is before seeing the good side of our friend. What was it?
Well, first thing is we need to know why we're together. Okay, so all of us should understand why we're together. And why are we together? In order to advance spiritually. Right, what does Rabbi say here? In his first article, we have gathered here to establish a society for all those who wish to follow the path and method of Bala Sulam, the way by which to climb the degrees of man and not remain as a beast. Okay, so those who want to become a human being like Adam, similar to God, similar to the Creator. Our existence here as humans are like animals. This is why we die. It's not anything spiritual. We're born, we live just like a monkey is born. Right? A monkey is born in the forest. We're born in a concrete forest. Okay, same kind of thing. So he's born in the jungle there. We're born in a concrete jungle here. He has a much happier life, mind you. Okay, but we have we have a higher purpose of creation. So what we have to do is to develop that spiritual aspect in us called the dot in the heart, which is apart from the Creator in all of us. Okay, otherwise if we didn't have this little piece from the Creator in us as a feeling, we would never aspire to spirituality. We would never aspire to discover the meaning of life. We'd never ask ourselves the question why we're living. So this dot in the heart is a very, very special thing that has contact with spirituality. It's like it's like the end of a rope that leads to the Creator. It's its connection with the Creator, really. And that connection is what we need to build. And that's our wisdom of Kabbalah. So the second thing after that is we have to see the good side of the friends. We have to nullify our ego and see the good side of our friends so we can connect with them. And if we try to connect with them, then what we can see is as we try to connect with them, we can begin to discover where we cannot connect. And when we discover where we cannot connect, that's the ego that we need to fix. The real ego inside a spiritual group is the desire inside of us against connecting with people, against loving them, against caring for them. You just don't want to care about them. You say, why should I care? This is why, if you haven't noticed, all of you are random people from all over the place. It's like you're not even connected in any way. It's the perfect setup for people to try to get to connect. Because if you already knew each other, you'd never get this job done properly. If you were good friends or whatever, but because you're all random, nobody knows anyone, nobody has a connection with really anyone, it's the perfect setup. It's the wonder about a Kabbalistic group. It's like a mini world model. Normally, none of you in the real corporeal world would hang out with each other. I'll tell you right now. All of you have so much different personalities that in real life, none of you would be friends. None of you would even hang out with each other. You wouldn't. And that's the kind of people that come to a Kabbalah group. Those guys who would normally never even look at each other on the street or would connect with in real life, due to the dot in the heart, can connect. So our real ego is against that connection that we want to make. That's what we're going to reveal. When we reveal that, that's wonderful, because now we've got some work to do. Because if I don't reveal it, I can't move forward. If I don't reveal what I need to change, what I need to correct, I can't develop. So the more I try to love, the more I try to care for the friends, the more I try to nullify myself, I'm going to discover that I don't want to nullify myself. I'm going to discover I don't really want to connect with these people. Who are these people? Okay, that's the kind of impression I'm going to have. On top of that, I'm going to have to build connection. Just like I explained to Michael's question a while ago. Without it, you can't grow. Therefore, with every positive step we try to take, we're going to have to discover something to overcome so we can go above it and grow. Am I making sense? Yeah, it's like logical, right? Spirituality is very logical. It's very down to earth, because all of creation is laws of nature. And you just can't run away from laws of nature. So it all needs to be very practical and logical. So when we're doing it, I know what I'm trying to do. I know why I'm trying to do it. And now I reveal why I can't do it. And because we're going against our nature, and I'm discovering that I can't do what I want to do because it's against my nature, what am I going to do? What do they call what we should be doing? I'm going to pray. What does praying mean? Okay, so you don't have to go anywhere to pray. To pray means I want to desire. Praying means a desire to change who I am. That's what prayer is, obviously, so you don't have to go to any synagogue, church, or mosque. Praying means inside of me, I wanted to be good, and I wanted to connect with someone in the right way, and I discovered, due to my egoism, I couldn't. So I want to, though, connect, but I can't seem to manage it. And that desire to change is called a prayer. Over time, that desire to change for the better, becomes answered. And that's called a person receiving the light. That means a person having inner change. Before, I didn't have love for the other person, and now I have that love for the other person. That change inside of me now, this new trait, this new attribute that I didn't have but I wanted to have and I wanted to change, and now I made that switch, is called an answer to a prayer. Sometimes in books they like to call it a miracle. However, there are no miracles in life. There are only cause and consequence. So it's not a miracle. It's we did the job and we got paid. Just like in this world. That's called a miracle. The reason they call it a miracle in some books, in Kabbalistic books especially, it means because we can't change our own nature, but this outside force can. And because that outside force did do that change on us, that's called a miracle. But like all things, the 50% of the work belongs to me. And the other 50% belongs to the Creator. Otherwise, we can't be partners in creation, can we? Partnerships are between friends, always 50-50. And if we want to build that partnership with the Creator, it needs to be 50-50 as well. Otherwise, we can't be equal with the Creator. And if we're not equal with the Creator, well, this is just, the whole point is to be equal to Him. So if we can't be equal to Him, you just defeat the whole purpose of the exercise. And that's all in about 15 minutes. Do we have any questions, mate?
Oh, yes, we do. We're going to start here. Let's see here. We've got some really good questions tonight. We're going to start with Emmanuel here. He says, in our corporeal day-to-day activities, do we have practical form of bestowal? At which point can one attain spiritual sensation through the mere study of the wisdom of the science of Kabbalah?
Okay, in your outside corporeal life, you can't really practice the wisdom of Kabbalah. The reason is, like I explained a while ago, the people on the outside, they don't really see themselves as egoists. Because what are they going to tell you? They're going to say, listen, I'm just living my life. I go to work, I come home, I'm either single or I've got a family. I mean, I'm living like everybody else. What are you talking about? Because he hasn't come to that revelation yet. He's not in the process. If a person is not asking about the meaning of life, he's not really in your frequency. He's not in your vibe. He's not in your state of mind. Do you understand what I mean? So you have to have like a person in your, you got to have this common frequency. You guys have to know why you're doing this nullification between yourselves. If you go out and nullify yourselves towards people on the outside, they're just going to use and abuse you. You don't have to be used and abused. This is why it's a group of friends who are working together, and they know why they're together, they know why they're doing this, and they know what they want to attain from this. So all of that needs to be clear. This is why on the outside world, the only thing we can do to bestow to the outside world is to teach. And that's if they come to us. We don't go out there and go to people and say, hey, come study the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's like only if a person has a desire to come and study, we teach.
Now, Steve is asking, is the desire for spiritual knowledge the same as for corporeal knowledge? And do we still call it the will to receive for ourselves?
It is the will to receive for ourselves still, because we are in such a state that we're a desire to receive. Remember, we're a desire to receive. We have a lot of desires, and we have this little minute dot in the heart right at the bottom of the swamp. Okay, if you can see that little dot in the heart here, this is our dot in the heart, and it's buried under all the big corporeal desires I've got. And it's just, underneath there, like under the rubble, screaming, hey, what are you living for? Okay, and then we all of a sudden have this little pinch. And this is how we, start looking for the meaning of life. Because this is the guy's art. It's like a little thorn right at the edge of your foot. It's in a really irrelevant place, but it's just, irritating. And that's how the dot in the heart starts to awaken. It's this irritation about the meaning of life, why you're living, what's the purpose.
Now, Steve is also asking, is the real ego the desire to be like the Creator?
Of course. That's like the real thing. I mean, let's face it, what do we have in this world? What do we have, really? I mean, let's just evaluate. What do we have? We've got sex, food, family, money, honor and control, and knowledge. I mean, how many of us care about any of this stuff? Most of us are just happy with sex and good food. That's it. Because our sensory organs, the biggest pleasure in corporeality is sex, and the second one is food. Okay? On top of that, we have emotional pleasures, which is companionship, so that's where the family comes in. Okay? And these are all in the animate level as well. Dogs have this, cats have this, lions have this, monkeys have this. It's just animate level. Now, on top of that, some of you might want to get rich. Okay? That's a less part of society. And then on top of that, there's another part of society which is even smaller than that, and they want to be like a politician or a prime minister or the president or whatever. And then there's even a smaller portion who want to be real scientists and want to discover, all the laws in reality. And then even less than that is a guy with a dot in the heart here who wants to know, what am I living for? What's the meaning of my life? And that is just like 0.0000001% of the planet. I mean, how many friends do you know wondering about the meaning of life? They just go, let's have fun tonight.
Let's go to the bar.
That's right. Okay? So it's a very minute percentage of people who have a dot in the heart who are really striving and really wondering, what am I living for, God? But the rest, so this is why you can't work with them either. It's just not happening. So spiritual work can only be in the group. But other than that, so these are not even real egos. In the majority of humanity, there's not even a real ego to talk about. They're just happy with food, sex, and that's it, and a little bit of money. If they can get by, wonderful, great. Not a lot of people even have a big aspiration to get rich, even though you can buy everything with money. People just want to be at that level where they don't have a financial concern. Most of humanity is at that level. They just want to be at a level where I don't have financial concern, but they don't want to get rich either. So there's really, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Do you guys see the world like that as well? Like how I'm seeing? I don't know. That's how I'm seeing it.
Now, Jose had a question. Jose, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like beginning to sense it in this perception of reality, where we are now. Where are we now? Is that what you're asking, Jose?
Where are we now is we should be hopefully we're going to advance together and go through the third semester together, and hopefully we should end up here right after the third semester. Right now we're here. Okay, so we're taking our courses, we're getting educated. All right, so let's do this. So right now, who is that? Jose.
Mm-hmm.
So Jose, you are here. Okay, like you are here. Okay, hopefully after third semester, we're going to say you will be here. You will be here. And Jose, here is your destination. Okay, destination, there you go. That's where we're at. So hopefully, if you look at your map, okay, this is the spiritual development. This is the map of your spiritual development.
Now, where do we feel the point in the heart?
We don't really.
And that's also from Jose.
Yeah, we don't really feel the point in the heart anywhere. It's like I said, it's like a little prick. It's like a little nudge. It's like a little irritation. You've got your life and it doesn't seem like it makes sense. It doesn't seem like it has a meaning. There's no juice to it. It's like having a dry steak. You're full, it's a steak, yeah, but it just doesn't taste good. Do you know what I mean? That's how our life is. It's just dry. Most of you who come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, most of you probably are not lacking in anything in corporal reality. I'm guessing that you guys, you guys have food, shelter. I'm guessing you guys are not, in a really, really bad state in life. I'm guessing you're like middle class, somewhere around there. And that you have your necessities in life. And the dot in the heart is really that state when you actually don't feel like you lack anything in life, except this taste that you think you should have, but you just don't have, and you don't know why. It's that weird feeling of being in between. But then from that you can develop onwards. Afterwards, if you come to the wisdom of Kabbalah and the study really attracts you, if the writings, the text, the study, you feel this attraction to it, then you can begin to say, oh my God, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like I need to study this. And that's when you begin to you can begin to develop. Yeah.
Now, Louise K from Brighton, I believe, she's got some interesting things here. She says, but human consciousness is now raising at a rapid rate. So we shall now see more and more people asking, or she says, starting to ponder the curiosity of what is the meaning of life.
Absolutely. Everyone will be beginning to ask, maybe not so much the meaning of life, but they'll come to start asking the question, you know, how can we have a better life? Why am I not happy? How can we have everything but we're not really happy in life? Why are we not able to have a good life? A lot of people are going to be asking that question. And that's going to be the thing. Why is there bad in our lives? Why do we feel bad in life? That's how we're going to start as a society. And we're going to start seeing that a lot. In life, a lot of good things seem to be happening because the media is covering all the bad stuff that are at the bottom. So in 2018, we're going to start smelling that the food in this cooking pot has been a little overcooked. We're going to start, getting some smells that the food is burning, and we're going to see that happening 2018 and towards 2019, especially 2019 as well. So yeah.
Now, Steve says, he asked this question a little bit earlier. He says, so we increase our spiritual ego. Does our corporeal ego decrease to the essentials?
If something becomes important for you, corporeal desires will become less important. It's like this. If I want to be a scientist, that's a good question. If I want to be a scientist, let's say I want to be a scientist here. I have this real craving to be a scientist. For me, what I eat during the day is not going to be very important. I'll be okay with a sandwich. Why? Because my mind is at attaining this knowledge. I'm like thinking about how to know this, how to understand this. So when I'm hungry, I'm happy to just grab a sandwich and eat it like a donkey eats grass or dry hay, because my mind is still on what I'm trying to figure out. Okay? So if I'm in a desire for spirituality, then the rest of these desires, I'm just going to take care of them as much as I need. And it won't bother me either. Because if I'm right in the middle of discovering something in science, whether I eat a sandwich or a big steak is, for a scientist is like irrelevant. In fact, he won't even want to eat the steak because he'll have to cut it up and so on. It's more effort to eat that steak. I'll just grab a sandwich and just carry on with what I'm doing. Think of it like that, yeah.
And so,
last question, yeah, or is there two more?
We've got just two.
Okay, go for it.
Quickly, Louise wants to know, she says, may I ask, how many courses are available for us to continue learning this way?
We've got one more semester after this, which is 10 lessons. It's called the Lessons of the Young Group. And then what we're going to do, we're going to have to integrate into groups according to our countries. So we're going to divide ourselves into the countries that we're at, and then we're going to go into the groups, and then we can start to participate like hardcore. Like not hardcore, according to how you want, that is.
All right, and our last question, Claire wrote, why are you sure that no animals except humans have the dot in the heart?
Because animals don't develop beyond their level of existence right now, but humans do. So humanity only started developing after the animate level finished its development. So all the animal level of development finished, and then the human started to develop. And the purpose of life for a human is to attain that higher level of consciousness. So that's why animals don't have an urge to ask about the meaning of life. Yep.
And that's going to be our last question. Wait.
That was our last question.
Yep, that was it.
That was it.
Oh.
Yes.
It seems here, it says, Luis says, so why can animals read and see energy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They finished a certain level of development, and beyond that is a human development. And that human development phase is us moving forward as humanity. So inside humanity, we also have the still, the vegetative, animate, human, and now with a dot in the heart, we've got the spiritual state happening. This is why we perceive reality as still, vegetative, animate, and us. But we're not at the human level as we're supposed to be at the moment. So our life here in this world is like an animal. Just like a monkey in the forest runs around all day doing what? Fetching food. And so we're running all day around, eating 3 times, 4 times a day. That's what we do. If you look at our lives, it's not much different in the animal level. We're just eating, and then we breed, and then we die, and that's exactly what they're doing. And look at what monkeys and chimps do. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Okay, they're on the tree. Everybody's scratching each other's back. And this is what we do in business as well. I scratch my colleague's back, he scratches my back. We get the job done, we get our paycheck, and we go and buy food. Okay, it's the same. It's the same kind of life. Not much different, except they're a bit more happier in nature. So the real human level of development actually starts with the dot in the heart. That's the real human in us, the Adam in us. Right then, we're going to love you and leave you as always on a Tuesday night. Slightly we're over time, but you guys got used to it by now. Take care. We're going to be together at the 8th lesson on Tuesday. All the best.
Bye-bye.